Guys, it's your girl from Philly. Welcome to another episode of Handcrafted Wines, where we make great wine from home the fun and easy way. Before we get started, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes.
I'm stuck in a cloud, drifting away to get out.
In today's episode, we're not making wine. We're actually preparing bottled wine for gifting. Now, don't get me wrong. If you show up to the party with a bottle like this of your homemade wine, your host is probably going to say thank you, and everyone's probably going to go ahead and drink your wine. But just a few tweaks would make it look a little bit more presentable. One of the things that I like to do is I like to have labels printed. So I make my labels on a website online. There's several available, post to my wall, Canva. There's so many that you can use. And if you're an artist, you can make your own graphics. I usually just use my name if it's a wine that I don't make all the time, that I won't have in rotation. If it's a wine that I'm going to have in rotation, I'll make labels for that specific wine just because I know I'm always going to be making it, like red apple hibiscus, pineapple, mango, strawberry. I'll always have these labels on hand. I buy them 50 to 100 at a time. And there's so many sites online that you can go to just to get your labels printed. I use sheetlabels.com, but you can use whatever you'd like. And for special events, I like to get waterproof labels just in case the person that I'm giving it to is going to put it on ice before serving it. So for my cousin's wedding, I actually prepared, this is one of the labels from her wedding. I prepared bottles for her wedding party and I labeled them. So I'll show you exactly what I did with that. The very first thing I'm going to do is show you how you can put your label on evenly. I'm going to go ahead and just write that this is blood orange melomel because it's not a wine I'll make all the time. And you could be fancy, you can use calligraphy, whatever you want to do to make the label look really nice. I actually have a friend that painted their wine labels with acrylic paint and it came out really, really pretty. Or again, if you are great at artwork, you can do some digital art, print out the labels, and those will be your labels. So on the side of every wine bottle, there's a seam. And it doesn't matter what size you get or what type you get, there will always be this one seam here. The easiest thing to do to make sure that your lines are straightened out is to start your label off at that seam in whatever direction you want your label to go. I'm going to lift that a little bit. If you see that, so it's completely lined up and it's just that easy to get your label on. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's on there. I was a little high with this label. As time went on, I actually started making shorter labels. This was one of my very first labels, and I ordered like 500 of them, so I've had them for years. So now the label is on. The next thing to do is to seal it. Now, I personally have given up on corking my bottles a long time ago. I get screw top bottles or bottles with threads on them, and I just get the tops and I screw them on. The way that I seal them so that it doesn't look like, somebody's already been in your bottle is I get shrink wrap caps. Shrink wrap caps. So I'm going to use this burgundy one just because it'll look nice with the label. And the very first thing I do is slide it on. Because it's a screw top, it takes a little bit of pressure just to bring it down into place. The second thing I do is I use my shrink wrap tool. This shrink wrap tool, and I'll post it in the descriptions in case anybody wants to get one. This is the Chandler tool. I turn it on low first. Make sure that I feel some heat. And the first thing that I want to do is hold on to the very top of the bottle, and I want the shrink wrap to begin at the top. Not too much, because if you look, there's a little tab there that makes it easy to open. We don't want it to burst at that seam. So we want to give it a little bit of heat there, but we want to at the same time protect that tab. Now I can move around, and as you see, it's starting to adhere to the bottle. So the cap is completely tight. Now what I can do now is just turn it up a little bit to get rid of all the wrinkles. And we're done. So without a lot of work, you have a nice bottle of wine to hand out as a gift. It looks a lot better than this does. Now, for something that's a special event like the wedding, I would take the same steps. I would adhere the label. And again, I like to get the waterproof labels because some people like to put their wine on ice. These are not waterproof, but if it's a special occasion, you don't want the ink running. So waterproof label is perfect. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find that seam on the bottle. And don't worry, all bottles have one. Sometimes they're easier to find, sometimes they're harder to find. I can feel this one. So this seam is right here. And I've actually labeled this bottle before. So there's a little gum left on it from skinning the labels. I learned that that's what it's called when you clean the old labels off of bottles. It's called skinning your labels. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to press it against the seam so that it's even. Oh, it's actually a little too low. So let's move it up some. The other thing about these waterproof labels are they're great. They don't tear. So if you have to make a correction, it's not a big deal with them. I'm going to go back to my seam. I told my cousin Cynthia I was going to be using her labels for one of the shows, but I promised I wouldn't do it until after the wedding was over. By the way, it was an amazing wedding. Okay, so now we have that on. And it's starting to look nice. Just rub the little bubbles out. It's starting to look nice now. Because I use gray and silver in the design, I'm going to use a silver shrink wrap. Same thing, because it's a screw top, you want to pull a little bit further. If it was just a cork top, you wouldn't have to pull. It would just pop right on and fit automatically. But what we want is not to have a lot of airspace at the top of the seal. So we'll pull it down as much as it'll possibly go. And do the same thing. Turn the shrink wrap tool on to a low setting and get the cap taken care of. Keep an eye on your little pull tab because that you want to protect. And without even going to the high heat, this one is almost ready, but I am going to give it a little bit more heat because I want it to be completely sealed. All right, and that's looking good already. But I like to do a few extra things when it comes to a gift like this. One, I always like to buy some type of gift bag. This is too large for this bottle, but like a nice pattern gift bag would be nice, you know, to, from, thank you, whatever you want to put on the card. But I also like to get, and I'll put a link for these as well. These thank you for celebrating with us, or whatever the occasion is, for a baby shower, birthday, whatever it is. And I love these little bows. So I take the thank you. I'm going to get it through there. I take the little thank you tag and I put it through I put the bow through the hole of it. And then I just, oh, it does get on there, I promise you. Then I just add that on. I'll get it on. Give me a second. It's the nails, guys. It's time to cut them. Okay. There we go. Did I get it on? I got it on. So that just makes it a little bit more attractive, especially when it's going to be a party favor or some type of, it'll be presented. It'll be on some type of table. It looks a little bit nicer like this. So this is just something I do. It's not something anyone has to do, but I like to keep a supply of labels so that I always have labels for my go-to wines. I keep a blank label for whenever I'm making a one-time wine and I can just write it in, or you could do calligraphy on a plain label, whatever you like to do. And then when it comes to a special event or something that is going to be presented to people, I like to just do a little extra to it just to give it a really good look. So those are my tips for gifting wine. And this has been a really, really short episode, but it's been a lot of fun. Thank you again for coming to Handcrafted Wines and spending time with me. Have a fantastic day. Please again, remember to like, share, subscribe, comment if you'd like. Click the notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.